What does it mean? I love you, but I'm not in love with you. You know, in my 37 years of marriage, there have been times we've not had good times. If I could tell you, probably the worst 2 years of my marriage were 2004, 2005, and part of 2006. In that time frame, we had a lot of things to work on. In those years of 2004, 2005, and 2006, it was pretty rough. I had a lot of things to work on in my own personal life that I didn't know. One was a deep father wound around my dad that the church I used to work at really triggered that father wound in me at the unconscious level. I just wasn't aware of it. The other part is Laura had some things in her life that we needed to work on, and I had something about it. So it was a tough time. Divorce was never an option. But I'll be honest with you. I remember one time, probably halfway through this journey, I was just feeling distant from her. She's feeling distant from me. And, my kids had to endure all that. And I'm grateful they were patient with us. I think what they did, they saw how we could go through that and still come out on top, which is a good thing in one sense. But I remember I was just feeling so distant, disconnected. And she came and sat down next to me on the bed and she put her hand on my knee. And she said in a very loving way, she says, I don't like you right now. I don't blame her. I wasn't real likable, to be honest with you. But she said, I want you to know that I don't like you right now, but I do love you, and we'll work through this together. We're going to make it. Those words of affirmation took me for months. But we both had some things we needed to work on. So what does it mean when a person says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you? We want to unpack that and look at it and those kind of things. It means that as I think about you, what does it mean? I love you, but I'm not in love with you. It means that as I think about you, I can love you as a thought. As I think about you, as I think about our histories, I think about who you are as a person. I think about the times we've had together, good and bad. If I think about our history, as I think about the things I value about you, I think about the positives and negatives. I love you as a thought. However, I don't have feelings of love for you. Listen to what Dr. Vicky Stark says from Psychology Today magazine. This string of 10 words that has so much power to harm. What does it mean? This string of 10 words that has so much power to harm. 10 words. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. She's asking, what is it about these 10 words, this string of 10 words, that creates so much hurt and harm? It speaks about the lost life force of a couple, that desire to be close, to be together, the impulse for intimacy, the complicity, the sexual energy that was an essential part of falling in love in the early days of the union. It describes the loss on the part of one of at least one of the partners, of the pleasure of the other person's company. And although sometimes the one who finds him or herself deeply disillusioned doesn't want to feel that way, once the scales have fallen from their eyes and they realize that there is no more desire, being together intolerable, and the end comes quickly. I'm going to read this quote again from Psychology Today. Dr. Vicky Stark writes about this string of 10 words, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. What does it mean? Here it goes. What does it mean this string of 10 words has so much power to harm? It speaks about the lost life force of a couple, that desire to be close, to be together, the impulse for intimacy, the complicity, the sexual energy that was an essential part of falling in love in the early days of the union. It describes the loss on the part of at least one of the partners, of the pleasure of the other person's company. And although sometimes the one who finds him or herself deeply disillusioned doesn't want to feel that way, once the scales have fallen from their eyes and they realize that there is no more desire, being together becomes intolerable. I can't be around you. It's just too intolerable. I can't handle it. And the end of what she says is, and the end comes quickly. Been in the field 30 years doing counseling in many different formats, be it psychiatric hospital, private practice, church-based counseling, a lot of different ways I've done this. And whenever you hear, I love you, but I'm in love with you, you really do have a problem. Because when you get to that place that you lost that love and feeling in love with you, because what it really is saying is, I love you as a thought, is I consider you and our relationship and our history, I love you. However, I've lost the feelings of love for you. That desire for you, that passion for you, that sense of wanting is gone. And because I've lost those feelings, that's desire, the sense of wanting, and that's something you feel. Since I've lost it and I don't feel it, then we have to end this thing. I don't want to love you as a thought. I want to love you with feelings. Now, what's interesting thing is there are people who have taught that love is not a feeling, that love is an action, and that you can act your way into feeling love. Well, I personally think that is wrong. Actually, I think it's absurd to even think that. But there's a lot of people who teach that. The problem with that is, let me give you an example where I know for a fact it would never work. I don't care how much I act my way into getting feelings of love for you. If you keep beating me, yelling at me, cursing me, hitting me, putting me down, have chronic alcohol and drug addictions, which leads to emotional, spiritual, mental abuse. If you continue to stay in that kind of relationship, I don't care how much you act loving, you won't get the feelings of love. The only thing your brains don't feel is threat. You're a threat to me. Danger. That's what you feel because you don't feel love for something that's threatening. The brain won't let you. This part down here, the reptilian brain, the fight, flight, or freeze response, it knows better than that. And so to say that love is an action would also decide that love might be a decision. I can decide to love you. Well, I know so many people, they keep deciding to love, but there's no feelings of love. And I don't know about you, but I can tell you this right now, stepping outside the marriage. If you asked me today, did my dad love me? I'd tell you yes, unequivocally. Problem is, ask me this question. How do you know? I don't really. Never felt it. Because here's what I've learned. If you feel love for someone, you kind of know they love you. But love is a decision. I know my dad loved me as I think about it, based on all that I know about my dad, but I also knew that he never got love from his dad or his mom. He was enmeshed with his mother, and his father was very abusive. I don't think my father ever really got it in a healthy way, so he couldn't give it to us in a healthy way. So I know my dad loved me as a decision, but I never felt it. But I don't know this. I don't want to live well and knowing that she loves me and never feeling it. You've lost those love and feelings. I want to feel the love. And if you feel the love, you know for a fact you're loved. It is important to understand that love isn't always an action. You can decide to treat someone in a loving way. That's an action. I like to say it this way. You can decide to treat someone with goodwill and respect, even though you have no feelings of love for them. See, I believe that to be true. You could always treat people with goodwill and respect. Why? Well, they're a person, and all people are worthy of being treated with dignity. You always respect the person's dignity. The fact that they exist means they have dignity. Respect their dignity. You don't have to like them. You don't have to be around them. But you can always treat people with goodwill and respect, even though you have no feelings of love for them.